The download I gave you has Greg Rakowski's brushes. It has all my grep brushes, and then it also, I forgot I had these. I have grep brushes that are impasto. Does everybody know what that means?
No.
Okay, so impasto just means thick, really, like big, thick brush strokes where you can really see the paint. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like a Rembrandt painting or something, right? So the stuff you're seeing, like, hang on a sec. Because this, hang on. This kind of fat brushwork like you see in here, like especially right there, you can really see the paint built up. You guys see that? Yes?
Yeah.
That is usually that kind of brush when you're talking about this kind of work. Hang on. There was another one in here that was better. I think it's this one. Nah. Especially right here. See that in there where that looks really oily? Looks like it's a fatter brush mark on top of it. Does that make sense? Okay, so the reason that this is important to me is we're going to do a couple of things. The one that we're going to start, which I should have posted yesterday, which pisses me off, is we're going to start sort of in the same way. You'll see it in the video. You're going to start sort of in the same way as we started the ink drawing one, where we're starting underneath it. But what we're going to start doing more and more now is going another layer on top of it and start building paint up on top of it and sort of obliterating the drawing. Does that make sense? Okay. Here's why I make a big deal out of all this brushwork stuff, because it's something that I see missing with especially entertainment students and things like that, but illustration, whatever. And part of it is because a lot of times they're just not aware of it, because they're usually coming from a digital environment and they don't know anything about traditional painting. And they see all this stuff like Feng Shui stuff and all these people's stuff online, and they're emulating it, but they don't understand it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just like this guy. I show the people this guy, and they're like, holy crap, that's cool, or whatever. And it's like, you got to understand painting. You know what I mean? So I can't go and teach everybody painting, obviously, but I can start to make you aware of these things and how these things work, okay? Because what I see a lot when people aren't emphasizing this, especially in entertainment design programs, is I see all this mushy digital painting that it's like that person does not know how to paint at all, okay? They can make a reasonable image, but they're not ever going to get to this level because they just don't get it, okay? So if I can make you aware of that, I'm hoping to do two things. I'm hoping to go, hey, maybe I should get go out and play an air paint or something, start really understanding paint, or take a painting class or whatever, and start understanding that so I can bring it into this digital environment. Because what I always tell students is if you are nailing it with real paint and all that kind of stuff, you're going to dump into this digital environment and you're going to kill it. Does that make sense? Because it is way easier than traditional painting, okay? I know nobody wants to hear that, but it is. Let's see if I can find one more. Okay, here, this might be good. Hang on. So what we're going to start doing, we're going to approach this off the bat from two different perspectives. One is grisaille technique, okay? So grisaille technique, does everybody know what that is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It-
not
It's putting down a value of tone first,
Yeah.
and then kind of glazing it over with color later.
Yeah. So what you saw a lot with, and some people don't know this, those old master paintings, some of them, not all of them, but some of them, they would do the whole painting completely finished, and I mean completely finished, in black and white, in that case oil, right? They'd let that dry, and then they start glazing color over it. So what does that do? It allows you to concentrate on the value in the drawing first, okay? And then concentrate on color. So instead of juggling 4 balls in the air, you're juggling value and form, which makes it a lot easier to just, it's not that it's easier, it's just that it lets you concentrate on that your brushwork, all that stuff, your value, your drawing, and get all that out of the way. And then they would glaze a color over it. So if you had a big red cape on, when you glaze that color over it, it sort of tints all the shadows and everything. It starts to give you color and form at the same time. Does that make sense? So I want to start, because I actually want you guys to go over that, and then that's my fault again. And we could start having a discussion around the video I put up just now, apparently. But I still can talk about the other thing I want to talk about, which is gradient mapping, and start this discussion of grisaille technique. And it's actually fairly simple. And I'm not, for anybody who's not a painter or digital painter, I'm going to give you files that you can use on this stuff, but I'm also going to talk about sort of how I create those things and everything, because I know everybody can't become a painter overnight, but you can start understanding the color process and all that. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's go, by the way, oh, here's a good one. Look at this brushwork up here. You guys see that? That's fat brushwork right there. Right here on this lit side, those look like big fat brush marks. It's crazy this is digital. I mean, this guy's got it down. But look at these edges. Look how these edges get soft out here. You see that? Again, I'm not a painting class, but I want you to start being aware of these things. So when you go into a painting class, you'll kick everybody's ass because they don't know this, okay? They just don't, right? I want everybody in my class kicking everybody in everybody else's class, okay? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so look at this foreground shape right here, hard-edged, softens up out here, really softens up back here, softens up a lot back here. What does that do? All these wings and all that stuff, it's doing two things. It's pushing the wings back, and it's pushing that head forward, because this is all sharper shapes. Even his ear softens up a little bit. Do you guys see how that makes that head come forward? Do you guys see that? Okay. That's the kind of stuff that you got to learn. Now, on this new thing we're doing, the canyon, we can start this idea, and I'll walk you through that. So don't worry about, first thing we got to do is get that underpainting going under the line work, just like we did with the ink thing. And it'll make sense when you see the video. So what you're doing with something like oil, and what this is emulating is oil. So if you like this look, this is emulating oil, okay? The term is fat over lean, and that's how we're going to think of it. So that means your darks are actually washier and a little more transparent. And then if you notice, as he goes to the light is where the paint thickens up, which is just how you paint with oil, right? So in his light strokes up here, like here, if you notice, they start to look like thicker paint, okay? Because that's how you do it in oil. So if you want to emulate, the other thing you do in oil, a lot of times you'll put down a shape like this and then kind of go back in and carve the edge out and soften things up and all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to put it down necessarily soft like that, because a lot of times you're making those decisions in the moment where you go back in and take your smudge brush and go and just soften that edge up. Does that make sense? Because I want to, at least personally, now you guys, I'm not trying to change your style or anything, but I want you guys to have this understanding, because it doesn't matter if you're going to do watercolor painting or whatever. You need to understand, you know, most of these painting techniques in the digital environment are emulating painting techniques in the real world, obviously, okay? So if you're going to do watercolor or something like that, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as we go through, then you got to understand the properties of what makes watercolor look like watercolor, okay? It's not just getting a brush that says watercolor brush. It's more than that. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to save this. The thing's cool. Okay, so on that brushes thing in the Greg Rakowski file, there's 2 videos in there, and he goes through 2 paintings. I think one's a ship, and I think one's a dragon thing like this. And you're going to see in there, he starts just super loose, super washy, and starts just building shapes. Okay, does that make sense? And those videos goes from start to finish. They're WMV videos or whatever, so they're like Windows format. If you're going to want to look at them on something else, you're probably going to have to convert them or whatever. But anyway, there we go. Let's this over here. So let me open a file here. Gotta check something. Hang on. So let's go. I don't know where my control bar went. Hang on. Okay, that's another weird thing. All right, let me. So I'm going to talk, I think, first about gradient mapping a little bit. Hang on. Okay, the normal discussion of gradient mapping when you start it. Anybody know how you get the screen to fit your window in Zoom? Because I never can. Once it gets too big, it just stays that way. Wait. Oh wait, no. Oh well, screw it. Okay. I got to open one other file here. Hang on. Hang on, I need this file real quick. I had this file. I gotta find it.
Hey, Mike, do you mean to get out of full screen on Zoom?
It's going beyond my full screen. The picture window with all you guys in it.
Oh.
And it's like,
yeah.
I can't get to the corner, and it doesn't have that thing where it just fits to the window.
I think you just double click on the screen to take it out, but that's for full screen. I don't know if you're
Yeah, it doesn't.
Bigger than full screen.
Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, I mean, I just like to see all you guys in one unit, but oh well. It's done this to me before, and then it'll it'll fix itself when I go back. Let me get I just need some color reference here. I think this will do it. Like this. This is good. I'm just giving myself some color reference here. It'll speed up the process. And this. Okay, something weird just happened here again. Yeah, okay. Okay, one more. Yeah. I'm gonna get one more with some warms in it. And one more, and that's it. We want this one. What I'm doing, I'm putting these in another tab on a different screen. I can just use them as photo or a color reference. Because like I said, usually this gradient mapping discussion, they usually use a sphere or something. I just don't think that's very interesting. So, okay. Okay, so let's look at this. I'm going to create a sphere here. Hang on. There we go. Now I've got this on its own layer. You can see, you guys, hang on, pull this over. So I have this on its own layer. I'm going to say sphere. And then I usually do another layer underneath it, and I'll show you why in a little bit. But let's do this first. Let's go. Remember, you can hold your space bar down and move that shape around, okay? And I'm just going to go, I'm going to knock in a gray value. And then what I usually do here is I just make a copy of this layer by dragging it onto the page, create a page thing. And you'll see why in a minute. I'm going to get the edges are sort of soft and things like that, but I want to have that sphere shape that I started with, okay? So I'm going to go, let's just go lock transparent pixels for now. Make sure that it's doing that. I'm going to get a lighter value. So let's go maybe here. And I want a big brushy brush, I think. And I'll start with this one. So we have to get ourselves something to do our grisaille thing on, okay? I just want to make sure it's not painting off. No, it's not. Okay. So I lock the transparent pixels, which means the only thing that's active that I can paint on is what's not transparent. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to go back here and sample this color again so I get back to this color. I never know how I'm going to do this. I always just start to play. I'm going to get a really big start there. Then I'm going to go over to another textured brush because the goal here is I got to get a texture together that looks cool, basically. This is a brush that I really like. You can see we're just vaguely starting to get a planet look. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to a lighter value because I'm going to say that like maybe this up here is the poles or something, and a lot of times they're icy. And I want a variety. What happens is I got to get a variety of shape here going where it starts to feel like a planet. And I'm going to try softening this up a little differently here and there. That's too much. I'll go smaller. And then that white can also start to take on the appearance of sort of cloud cover. Now I'm going, I need a little darker value here. I don't want it to all be light value. I don't want all my shapes to be the same. I'm going to try another thing that might be cool. So this is a good, wait, let's go to, okay, so down here, I should have this in here. Okay. I'm actually looking for my impasto brushes, which should be in here. Okay, these are just grut brushes in here, but I have impastos too, which I'm not seeing. I loaded yesterday. This one looks kind of cool. Let's try this. What I'm looking for here now is just interesting texture. I just want to get some nice hard and soft edges. Oh, this is a mixer brush. I don't want a mixer brush. I'll talk about that either tomorrow or the next day. I don't want to mix. A lot of these are mixers. I don't want that right now. Try this one. Okay, that's kind of cool. One more. Go around with this. Okay, you guys see how we're starting to get a planety look? Does that make sense? Now,
Yeah.
the reason I like to do this is I'm trying to do two things at once, okay? Like I said, usually do the gradient mapping thing, we'll do a sphere. It's like, well, why would I just do a sphere? I understand that it teaches you how that works on something common, but I also think you need, at least to me, you need to look at, like, if I went to an entertainment person, I go, how to make a planet, a lot of times they're going to do these very rigid things. Does that make sense? Or I'm trying to get you to look, like to think like a painter and go, oh, if I put brush strokes down there, a planet from a distance is basically abstract. Does that make sense? It's abstract, okay? So if I sit there and I try and think like this and put every shape in there, it's probably going to look very stiff and not very planet-like. Whereas if I throw things up and I start getting them to look organic, and it starts to get that appearance of like a pole up here, and I could probably put some of this. If you look at like Earth, you'll see these cloud cover over certain parts of it. So I could probably go in with something. Let's go back to our brush and go to this light value. And maybe over here, I can start to sprinkle some of that idea of cloud cover in here. And if I go out really like the edges of that brush, then I can just clean them up a little bit. The edges, because I don't like the patchiness. I want to get them a little more like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do here, so let's save that. Let's go Photoshop. And just save it here. Okay, so now we sort of got a planet. I want to turn off. Let's see if it works with it on. Okay, so I want to turn off. I don't know why it's not. Oh, I know why. That's why. Okay, I want to turn off this. Actually looks pretty good. But I'm going to save this sphere back here. It's sort of an insurance policy. Because sometimes when I start softening up edges, I also kind of wipe out and it gets transparent around the edges. It'll make sense when you guys do this. And I want to have that solid selection that I can reselect whenever I need it. So this one down here is nothing but an insurance policy. Does that make sense? So I can click, if this starts to get soft edged, I can go back here and click this. And I can reselect my original shape, okay? Or I could save this original shape when I started it. I could save it up here under Save Selection and just do it that way. Does that all make sense? Because then I'd be saving the original selection. That'd probably be a smarter way to do it. It's just the way I do it. Okay, so let's go to, now everybody remembers our adjustment layers, right? So I'm gonna go down here to adjustment layer and I'm gonna go gradient map. And I'm going to click on that. Should have came up, hang on. There it is. So what comes up with this is this, which just looks like our gradient tool from before, okay? And I'm going to click on this, and it's going to bring up this window. And okay, so this is going to the light side, and this is going to the dark side. Does that make sense? And what it's going to do, let's click it. Let's click one. Hopefully it makes a mask. It should make a mask. And okay, so I clicked this one, and now it's giving me this color thing. So I'm going to click that. Let's go to a blue. And what it's doing here is it's mapping. This is on the dark side. So it's mapping the color to the darks. Okay, so what this is doing is it's mapping color to your darks or your lights. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go more bluish. That's better. And then over here, I can start to go, do I want it more saturated, less saturated? I kind of like it down here a little bit. So it's dark, but it's saturated. I'm going to say, okay. Now, it should make a mask there, so hang on. Now I'm going to go to the light side. Okay, it's doing this thing it did yesterday. Let me start this over. It's doing this thing. See this right here where it's, let me see, make sure you guys can see that. Here where it's making a mask. It did this to me yesterday where it's not making the mask. There should be a circle there where it's masking that off. Okay, so I was worried about this from yesterday. So I'm just going to get rid of this one and do this again. And make sure that right here, adjustment layers, I'm going to go to gradient map. I'm not sure why it's doing that. So let's go here again. Go here. It's not making my map, which is weird, or my mask. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Let's see if it does it now. Yeah, it's not making my mask for some reason. Hang on. Let me throw this out again. Oh, this layer's locked. I'm going to unlock it. Hopefully that's it. Okay, back to here. Back to here. Still not making my mask though. Yeah, see how it's filling the whole layer? It shouldn't be doing that. Hang on. Man, that's annoying. Did this to me yesterday. I have no idea why. Let's try this. But I shouldn't have to do that. Oh, there it goes. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that. It made the mask right there. You see that? And I think I put a selection around it. Maybe that's what it was. So now let's go to our blue. But okay, now I'm going to go to the light side. And maybe I like to play with this stuff and just see where it goes. I don't like that. So I'm going to go back up to blue again. And I'm going to map the lights a little lighter. Maybe kind of push them a little bit. And maybe I get, see how it's going green in the highlights? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So what this is doing is it's mapping a color to your dark to light spectrum, okay? So I'm just making weird colors here, but let's go. So I could go where it's really super hot in the, there. I want to pull it down. So you can see I'm just going through my spectrum here. That's kind of cool. I actually like that. I want to push it up into the lights a little more so it warms it up a little bit. And then I can go, I can just click here and I can add another value or another color to the value. So I might go back up to my blues here and maybe find sort of a mid-tony. That's a little better. I got to dial these things all in. Something like that. And then maybe I'll go here. That's kind of weird. I don't like that. Let's go. I want to get some warms in there. And that's kind of cool. Now, let's just do that for now. It feels too saturated. Pull down, more like that. So I could keep going. I could keep adding tabs. Does all that make sense?
Yeah, yes, it does.
Okay, what it's really valuable to me, and I'll link some videos. There's some people who do some really cool stuff with this. I'm just giving the basics of it, but it's how it works, okay? So some people take this and they just kind of trick out their whole painting with it. And sometimes what's cool about it is if you have like, there's one I was looking at, because I always look at stuff over and over again that I'm going to show you guys to see if anybody's got a cool take on it that I haven't thought of or whatever. So sometimes I find some cool stuff. And there was one person who was showing these, like, it was an underwater scene. And they were showing how the color went into shadow, went past the core shadow, and then went into a reflection shadow. And I hadn't thought of this, but they made a good point. And she was like, well, normally I would have to spend a lot of time in that transition. And she's like, it did it instantly. And it looked really painterly and really complicated. And it was just this, okay? So what you got to understand with digital painting, I think, is like you can look at guys that were like that Rakowski guy, which is good because I gave you files and you can look at them from start to finish. And he's just painting for the most part, okay? Then there's people that use all sorts of different types of tools in the digital environment to speed these things up or to kickstart things, you know what I mean? You know, use all your tools, okay? Just use all of them, but know fundamentally how to do whatever it is you're doing. Does that make sense? So fundamentally know how to paint and then use all this stuff, okay? But don't go into it and go, this is what bothers me about digital painting, is people come out and they learn a bunch of tricks, and then I look at their portfolio or their pieces, and I just go, it's a bunch of photo bash crap. It's not even good, okay? It's like, okay, you photo bash something together so you can put it on Instagram or something. Okay, whatever. But you clearly don't know how to paint. Does that make sense? Yes?
Yes.
And the reason I say that is it's our job to fundamentally train you. If you want to go out and compete with people from Art Center or RISD or wherever, the reason that they're, you know, that they kick everybody's ass is that they spend so much time on fundamentals where these people really know how to draw and they really know how to paint. Then they go into this environment and they do all this amazing stuff and they use all those tools, but they've got that fundamental knowledge under them. So our approach is that we want to do the same thing. We want to train you from a fundamental perspective, not a bunch of tricks. I'm not interested in tricks. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What I want, and it's starting to happen, is I want our students to go out there and get these jobs and people go, holy crap, this person came out of Fullerton, and they start getting that reputation, which we are, of pumping out great students, like those kind of schools, without you guys paying $100,000 or whatever. Anyway, so let's go here. I'm just playing around with this a little bit. All right, so you can see I can just play around endlessly with that. You guys get that, right?
Yep.
And it made a mask, right? So we know we're familiar with masks. So if we go and look in channels, that's probably where that lives. And now I'm just going to go, okay, this color's still better. Yeah, that's a little better. Yeah, that's better. And then I'd probably go in here somewhere and get sort of a greenish tone in here. Let's leave it there for now, because we're going to do this. We're going to approach this from two perspectives today, okay? Now I'm just, and then I can come here on my channel slide or on my gradient sliders, and I can start moving these around and affecting it. And I like that, okay? Yeah, that goes a little, see, that's got a nice little more contrast now. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
You can also make a gradient and just save it up in here in your gradients and just apply it, okay? You know, you still have to go in and tweak it, but like I saw somebody online, it's a smart idea. He was using this technique, and I'll link his video because I think it's pretty good. He was doing clouds, and he has this kind of gradient he uses, and boom, it instantly gets those clouds working. You know what I mean? So like, if you're under a deadline, man, these things are the greatest thing in the world, okay? And if you're under a deadline, photo bashing gets you there, cool. But you are not going to sustain a career only knowing how to photo bash. That is not going to happen. You understand that? Because the first time an art director throws a clipboard in front of you and goes, what do you think? And you go, I think this. He goes, okay, draw it. And you're like, he's going to be like, I got to get rid of this guy. Does that make sense? So I said, okay. So now we've got this. I think we understand this. Let's go into, just for the hell of it. And there's our gradient map right there. You guys see it? Hang on. You guys see that right there? The reason I'm saying that is I want to reinforce this idea of channels, where that lives. Boom, it created a channel. It's also created a layer mask. Okay, does that make sense? Because I want all these things to relate together, okay? So let's go here, and let's just say we go And I've got some reference here of this kind of stuff, right? So let's go. So I'm just going to sample some colors off of here. And again, we're going to get into this painterly idea, hopefully. Let's go here, and I'm going to sample, oops, I'm going to sample this dark blue and see how this looks. So I'm going to put another layer here. I'm going to, oh, I'm on this one, okay. I'm going to put another layer, let's put it here. I might have to collapse this, let me see. Oh, no, it's fine. And I'm going to go, that's okay, that's probably pretty good. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start sampling a few colors off of here. I like this thing. So to start with, it almost doesn't matter what brush I use, because what I want to start getting through to you guys is this idea of abstraction. I'm going to put a couple of colors in here based on what I'm seeing over here. I'm even going to grab a lighter value and go to thinner brush. And I'm going to go grab this warmer color. I just got to do something to get me started.
So Mike, your reference photo is not in another window. How do you switch? Oh, is it because you have different?
Because I have two screens.
Oh, okay, got it.
So I have them off screen, but I'm just going in here with my if I'm in the brush tool and I hold Option, it gives me a eyedropper. So I'm going to go grab this color, and I don't want to get too many colors going here. I want to start with sort of a simple idea. So I've got these off screen, you know, so my screen's not so crowded. And this stuff, I'm going to start, I just have a tendency to do this where I start with this big rough edged brush. And I'm sort of just going for it, to be honest. But all I'm going for is that sort of nebulous kind of look. Now, again, we need a variety of edges here. And I can put another layer, maybe behind this layer for now. And maybe, let's go a little more. So like right in there, it's starting to be something I like. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to switch over to a softer blender. I'm going to shorten this up. Because this stuff's all gassy looking. If you look at it, you see that?
Yep.
It's just sort of, it's an abstract painting, to be honest. Okay, so the way I always try and look at everything is like in that sort of abstract thinking. And then let's go maybe behind it. I'll grab a, I don't know where my spatter brush went, so I just made one yesterday. And this actually isn't the one I want, but because I made two of them. But let's go, where is it? I'm going to go to back to this. Oh, that's right. I can get this little spatter brush in here and start to sort of get that star stuff. I'm going to go a little bigger with it. Now, what I tend to do, and all I'm doing is dancing over it. I'm going to go to these really hot ones here. Put some in here just to abstract it up. Because there's a lot of like really big burnt hot spots there. So it's a total variety of pinpoints, stars, okay? And then I'm going to go in here at some point. I'm going to grab this hotter color, change it up. Oops. Go to view, clear guides. And let's get a couple of these hotter ones back here. Then I love this. This one's got like a orange corona around it. So I think I'm going to try that. Might work, might not. Go back to my nebula layer. Oh, I don't want that brush. Let's go with a, I really like this brush. Hang on. This one. Let's go with a nice rough. See how that one's got that sort of oily texture? You guys see that?
Yeah.
If I put this on top of something, it's going to start to look like that oil look. So I'm going to use it. I'm probably going to soften it up anyway, but so what? I want to put this like little corona around this thing. And I think I'm just going to soften that up a lot. That's kind of cool. And then now I'm going to go to a little hotter value of it here. Let's see, right there, looks pretty hot. And then I'm going to go back to my spatter brush. You guys should have a spatter brush as a, let's try this and just see the hell of it. No, and that might be cool. This is a really good leaf brush that's in here. I might put a little of that in there. And again, I'm going to try smudging this out a little bit. If you notice, though, I'm not just smudging everything out. I'm really thinking about my edges and things like that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. You see how this part right here is starting to get that nice little painterly buildup?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's what I'm looking for. That right there. I might knock it down a hair. I like that. And then maybe down here. That's a leaf brush that I'm just abstracting, okay? That's okay for now. Okay, now another thing I might do towards the end. Ooh, I lost my gradient map. Hang on there. And I could shift this whole thing to a different color if I wanted to. So another thing I might do is I still have this sphere. I still have this sphere thing here, this shape. And I'd probably change this color now a little bit because the environment is asking for it. But now I'm going to grab this shape. And I've got I should have let's do a atmosphere layer. And I'm gonna grab one of these. It doesn't matter because I can adjust it. I'm gonna use my get back to my brush. I'm gonna use my eyedropper, and then I'm gonna go fill. And if you look here, it's filled that with that color, right? Actually, I'm gonna do this. Let me do this. I'm going to go up to filter or up to select, modify. We talked about this before, and expand. Where my window go? It's going to give me this. Actually, let's do it this way. I don't need to expand it. I have it already, so I'm just going to go deselect, go Command T. I'm going to make this a little bigger. Oops. Hang on. If you hold Option, it will drag your selection out from the center out. Does that make sense, you guys? So if you hold Option, it drags it out this way. If you don't hold Option, it's dragging it from a corner. So I wanted to drag it out exactly like that, okay? So I think you guys know planets usually get an atmosphere around them, like a corona kind of. And I'm gonna go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Then I'm going to go, do I like that? Or do I want to go through here and go, what's the best atmosphere? Using that. Probably a cooler thing's working. Kind of like that right there. If you've ever seen Earth from space or whatever, you see that atmosphere around it. Okay, so now we're starting to get that. Now I'm going to go put another layer here. It's sort of a final. I'm trying to think of. Okay, so I'm going to go fine tune. Because what I like to do is I like to go into a few of these. Let me get a good brush. Now I need my sort of regular. Actually, I might use this. I might just use this, or maybe even this. Let's try this. And I'm going to go get a really hot blue here. And I'm just going to go in. Let's soften this brush up a little. Make this really small. And just here and there, inside of these blue ones, I'm going to hit a little hot point. And you'll see it'll start to make it sparkle a little bit. Some of them will pull forward. And I can also do some of this with my spatter brush on a higher setting, you know, on a higher value setting. Yeah, I don't like that. See how they're repeating? You don't want that. There. Oops. Okay, now I have to recalibrate because Wacom sucks. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do a few more of these. Repeat again. I have a real bad habit of repeating things, which drives me crazy.
Most humans do. You're not alone.
Ugh. It drives me crazy because it's like, you've been doing this forever. Why are you making these super amateur, stupid moves? But whatever.
Repeating patterns is the number one thing, no matter how good you are.
Is that true?
Yeah, man. Like they happen a lot. People don't realize it. It's your brain looks for patterns. It
It does.
thrives on patterns. So
okay, that's
good
that you said that, because what I want to explain here is, and this is just the way I work, and I don't think I'm unusual or whatever. The way I work is I operate off what you just said. So I'm always putting things down in a super smoky kind of way, and then I pull solidity out of it. So I'm sort of in partnership with my abstract brain. Does that make sense? Yes. And I think it's a good way to work. And I operate 100% on what you just said. I operate on, when you see a unicorn chasing a race car in the clouds, I'm operating on that. So I'm trying to put something down that's sort of in the ballpark, and then I shape it. Does that make sense? Because then it tends to have a more organic feel. Okay? So, you know, I can keep going on this forever. Oh, let's do this. I just thought of this. Let's go and put, this is on its own layer. I'm going to do it maybe like that, because we haven't talked about this. And then I'm going to get another one of these hot colors. This one can be kind of a natural, probably. So let's go, shoot, I want to sample one first. Let's sample something first. I'm going to deselect that, and I'm going to get a really hot color here. Maybe this. And let's see what this looks like. Yeah, it's not hot enough. Let's go here. But I can always, you know, change it as I'm going. It might be more interesting to have. Let's try that. Still want it hotter. Anyway, let's put that down, then we can change it. So I'm going to go here. So maybe something's orbiting this thing, or a meteor's in its orbit or something. I'm going to go up here to edit, and I'm on my own layer, stroke, and it'll come up like this. It's asking me the width, and I'm going to say 10 points for now. Let's see what it looks like. It's too fat. So let's go edit, stroke, and let's go 5 points. Yeah, that might work. I'm going to say deselect. I'm going to put it in front of this stuff. I'm going to go Command T, and I'm going to tilt it. I'm also going to dial in a color here. So let's go you. First thing I'm gonna do is see if I can just saturate the hell out of it, which I can. Then it's like, is that the right color? I want it warm, I know that. So I'm gonna try it. Probably too much and I'll change this, but whatever. For now, it's fine. That's a little too much, but okay. And I'm gonna tilt it a little more. And I want to say it's coming from behind this planet, so I could do this, I could just take my sphere shape and I could just go eraser, erase that out, okay? I could also use this to do rings around it like Saturn, all that kind of stuff, okay? Okay, so I'm going to go in here and say this thing's coming from back here and it's zooming out here, okay? So I'm going to go back to my smudge. I'm going to try this one, really small. And I want to shape it out a little bit back here where it's breaking up back there because that's going away. That's the trail that's left. I'm going to shape this out a little bit. I might even come in with an eraser and do some of this. And the eraser, I'm going to erase this part out here. I don't want it going all the way around the planet. I'm going to get my brush. I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to go hotter. Need a bigger brush. Because maybe this thing comet-like. Maybe it is a comet, I don't know. I'd have to find the right thing for that. I'm going to shape it out here. I think I'm going to come here, my eraser. I'm going to erase out some of this a little bit. That's too much. I actually might let it do that. I don't know. Let me see. I don't think it'd be a sharp line. It'd be some kind of broken stream of stuff, which would be cool. This right here, now I might go behind this and darken that up a little bit. Like, let's see, maybe a little of this. I'm going to take another, because it's getting lost in there a little bit. So let's go. I want to, well, here's all my oil brushes. So I gave you guys all these oil brushes. And I'm going to go a little bit of dark here, back on my nebula layer. Because that will make my comet head sparkle a little more. Does that make sense? Light, dark, right? And I'd probably make that a little hotter. So let's go. I'm going to shape this a little bit. And then back to here. Back to my comet thing. I'm going to go a little more hot here. There, that's better. And then I'm going to go really screaming hot in here. Oop, too big. You guys see how using like the right brush does half the work? Right? I mean, I'm not doing much of anything. Okay, and then I'm going to let this energy kind of come down in here maybe. It's hotter towards the front. I'm going to have some stuff coming off of it. I'd probably go white hot at some point. Shape it a little more.
Mike,
Yeah.
for the grut brushes, do you load them as TPL files,
No,
or do you load?
It'll give you the option of loading them as brushes.
So load them as brushes.
Load them as brushes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
That TPL thing was annoying because it wouldn't give you a preview. So I had a standalone program for the grut brushes specifically that would show you how to, or would show you a preview. But it was like over in your, just like where your layers is and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But like with, I think it was 2020, I think, they came out with, they can load it as brushes, and it keeps all that information, because what was going on was that they were tool presets, right? That's what that stands for. And I think that's when they built these more complex brushes, it had to hold that information as a tool preset. So they'd be in your tool presets and they'd have the names of them, but no preview. And now when you load them as a brush, it just goes into your brush palette. You can just organize them in, you know, the folders where you want them and all that stuff, and you get a preview. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, got it.
So I'm going to do one more thing here. Or I'd probably do a lot, but whatever. I'm going to shape this out so it's a little, so it tapers a little as it goes back. And then I could kind of go, I could take some of this and just sort of spark, you know, throw in some sparky looking stuff coming off of all this, maybe here. I think I get like a really hot thing going on here. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so if I show this to a lay person, they're going to think I spent a bunch of time on it. What did we spend on it? Half hour, maybe? And if I did this not showing you guys, it would take me 10 minutes, right? I'd have to get that leading part a little hotter. That's what's bugging me. And I want to keep it really saturated, so I'd probably have to go back in and figure that out. But one thing I do want for sure is I want this to have a really hot leading edge like that. More like that. And you know, I might be able to dance some of that somewhere else too, where it gets a little hot here and there where that trail is sort of, that's better. We need some of the color in there. More like that, that looks better. Shouldn't be back there. I'll get rid of that. There. Okay, and then, you know, come in here, oops. Come in here, dance some of this hot stuff in here now. Really hot. So I'm going to change my brush. Good. Got a really hot value here. Some of this. Now I look at it and I go, okay, where can I really love this little, I like this little passage in here. I like this back here, or, you know, or I might just go, okay, I'm calling it finished or whatever. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Simple, right?
Yeah.
And then okay, so we're going to have a couple of things we got to do here. We got to start on, it's my fault again. We got to start on that desert scene, that canyon. I gave you the original drawing, and you'll see in the video I kind of make that into a bigger canyon. And then I want you guys to do this too, because I want you to start with the gradient mapping idea. And then let's do one other thing here. Let's get rid of this for now. I'm gonna make, now remember, hang on. Remember, I have it, there's, you know, you can do a couple different things. I have this file right here, so I can just go Option, drag it, and go version 2, right? Or when I have it open, my file open here, because I do this a lot when I'm working on stuff. I go in, and by the way, I would shift the color in this thing. I don't like it's not quite matching it. So now I'd probably just flatten it at this point, because I can make this so fast if I want to do another one. And I go in and just overall shift the color to make it fit that environment a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, okay, so the other way you can do this, you can go save as, save on my computer. Here's where I'm keeping them. And I can just go Planet B3 and go save. And now I'm working on Planet, where'd it go? I should be working on that one. Let's close that. Oh, that's why. Hang on. This is why. So now it's Planet version 3. So now I'm just working on a new version. So what I do is when I'm working on something kind of complicated or whatever, I'll go, I kind of like it here, but I know I'm going to do more stuff. So I'll just save a new version and start working on the new version. So I have the other one as an insurance policy. Does that make sense? And then
Yes.
if I'm going to send this to a client, then I just go save as, TIFF file, whatever they want, 300 DPI, or whatever they want. And then it's not disturbing my original file. Never, ever flatten your original file. Keep that file. Because you can generate whatever type of file you want. You can generate a new version, whatever you want, forever. Okay? So this one I might go, let me see if I can do it here. I don't know if you can. Yeah, it's not even giving me the option. So I'm just going to flatten this one. Just these two layers. I got these, oops. Let's get this in here. I've got these two layers right here selected. And I can either go to the fly out menu and go merge layers, or I can just go Command E. But let's just do that. And I might just come in here and go, you know, can I shift this into the color range? It feels a little more like, you know, the world I'm in here. So I think probably there a little more, desaturated a little bit. That feels a little better. So on and so forth. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay. And the other thing I want to say is, like, whenever I'm showing you guys something like the canyon, this planet stuff, it's not about the canyon. It's not about the planet stuff. It's about the approach and the tool set. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do, and I know I keep saying this, but it's important. I'm trying to show you an approach that's hopefully more organic and more natural looking than all this hard edge stuff I'm seeing constantly, where I just go, when I see that, it's not necessarily that it's a style that I don't like. It's that I'm looking at that and going, that person's not a very sophisticated artist, and that person doesn't really understand painting, and that person is strictly from an entertainment design background, and that person is just emulating stuff that they don't even understand. Does that make sense? I want to make you guys more fundamentally sophisticated artists in your approach and your thinking. Okay, now you can throw all this out the window. You might take a class with somebody else and you go, I like this whole approach better. What you are probably going to do is you're going to mix and mingle these things all together into your own approach. Does that make sense? Because
Yes,
I do
it
not
does.
work 100% like any teacher I ever had. I took bits and pieces from them and probably learned a certain dominating philosophy from one of them. And you know, and then you just start working and you start developing your own thing. Okay. Style will find you. If you're working all the time, your style will find you. Like, people are always, oh, I got to find my style. It's like, if you go looking for your style, it ain't going to happen. You've got to just work, and all of a sudden you'll realize that your stuff looks like your stuff. Okay, does that make sense?
It does. Yes.
All right, so there's this guy. So let's go back to, I'm going to show you one other thing here. Let's go back to maybe version 2. And I'm going to go turn this off. Turn this off. So now I'm back. Let's turn all this other stuff off. And the glow. Okay, so now we're back to our, where's that at? There it is. Now we're back to our gray planet idea, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm just going to go lock transparent pixels on this. No, I can't do that. I want to do it on a layer over. So I'm going to select my shape by clicking the command clicking the thumbnail. Okay, so I command click the thumbnail right there, and I selected it. Okay, now I'm going to go get a. Let's try a. Oops. Let's try a nice. Just a soft brush, basically, to start with. Oops. So let's soften this. So you can see right here, this hardness slider, I can slide it and it's going to soften up my brush. Okay. You can also, and I'll tell you that in a minute. Let's go big. And let's say we're going to do, again, this blue idea. So let's shift this. Yeah, maybe there. I don't know. We can always adjust it. And then I can either put my brush, which is right here, on color, or I can put the whole layer on color because they're both the same thing. But if I put my brush on color, it's only going to affect what I'm doing on my brush, not the whole layer. So if I decided on that layer, I want to keep working on that layer not as a color overlay, I can just turn that off on my brush. If I put the layer as a color overlay, the whole layer is color overlay, which either or is fine. It just depends on how you like to work. So let's put this on color. Oops, color. That's weird. Hang on. This shouldn't be going that hard. And let's try. I'm going to do this just to hopefully speed this up. I'm going to put it on this layer. Okay, you can see what it's doing. It's doing what we just talked about. It's glazing a color over my planet. Okay? So now I could get really targeted with this and go, I want these areas to be cooler. Maybe those are oceans. I want these land masses to be more, a little more lush or green or whatever. Probably would never go that screaming green. And you know, I just start painting this stuff in. I'm going to go back in again and soften this stuff up here and there. And I just go through the same process, only now I'm just sort of painting these colors in. Too blue, I don't like that, but that's fine. So let's knock this down, it's too blue. I'm gonna knock down the opacity. Now it's too gray, but I kind of like some gray in there. So I'm just doing the same trick. That looks better. That green is way too green. I'm pulling some of that gray into the green a little bit. I can have a little bit of that crazy green, not too much. Yeah. See how that broken edge, really big, this broken edge soft smudge brush, or this broken edge, it gives me right away, it gives me an organic edge. And then when I start repeating that too much, then I go and soften one and break them up a little bit. And I'm thinking about, you know, when it's a planet, it starts to get pretty abstract. If I'm doing this with a face or something, you know, I know where the hard and soft edges are and all that kind of stuff. I don't want everything a hard broken edge. I don't want anything repeating all the time. Okay, I don't want to have that, oh, I really love that broken edge thing, so I'm going to do it all over the place. Or what people usually do is they go, oh, I want to blend everything to death. I want to blend everything to death. And it just looks so amateurish when you do that, okay? Whether you're doing that traditionally or whether you're doing it digitally, it doesn't look good. Okay, so then this is just on color overlay. So I've got the, I don't know why my brush isn't working like that, but don't worry about it. It's the same thing. You can just put the layer on color and just paint on the layer. It's fine. But you can see what it does. It kisses all my stuff with colors. That makes sense? Now, usually what I'm going to do here is this is my starting point, and I start getting everything sort of tinted, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to start building up opacity. Does that make sense? And I start talking about it in this video that we're, you know, that I should have put up yesterday. Hang on a sec. Okay, yeah. All right. You're going to start seeing me talk about putting a layer over. Okay, so you're going to do your underlayer, just like we did with the ink drawing. You never touch that drawing. Okay, you never touch it. You lock it. Put it on multiply and lock it. And then you're going to start, you know, building that color underneath it. Then you're going to put a layer on top of that, and then we're going to start painting over. And the goal of that is, just like painting, eventually you obliterate the drawing underneath, and now you got a painting. There's a couple different ways we can do this, and I'll show you. There's a couple different ways we can do it, okay? I'll have to go into detail on that a little bit tomorrow, because then you'll have seen what we started, and then I can start to show you how we can get into that thing where the line is getting obliterated, and we're straight into tone, okay? And I think that's really important. Again, when I see things come out of, I don't know, character design, doesn't matter. It's always a line and a wash fill, you know? And after a while, you're like, what? Don't you ever want to paint these things? Like, they look cool painted. And whenever I went into classes, man, if I had some secret weapon in that class, I wanted to kick everybody's ass on that grit wall. So if everybody's doing line and wash stuff, it's like, screw you, I'm doing an oil painting looking thing, man, and I'm going to put an environment, and I'm going to do all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because, and I'm not saying this in a douchey competitive way, but I do think it's a good tool when you go into it, because we have good students. And when you go into a class, I just think it's a good tool to go, who's the hot shot in here? Oh, it's that person. Okay, I'm going to kick their ass. Because it just pushes your skill set up all the time. You're always trying to be the best in your environment, okay? And then when you go to, if you go to a job, you do the same thing. You go, who in here's kicking my ass? Okay, I'm going to kick their ass. I'm going to get better. And it just, and it's not that I want to sit there and be douchey competitive with everybody. It's just that I want to be as good as I can possibly be. And that's a tool for making me as good as I can be. And the other tool for that, whether it's here or whether it's on a job or whether it's if you go to Cal Arts or Art Center and you see somebody who's doing something cool, you go over and go, how do you do that? Because 90% of the time they're going to go like this because they like talking about it. Okay, that's why I like teaching. We get to talk about all this stuff, and you learn from all those people. Okay, when I went to Imagineering, I had a huge case of what's that called? Imposter syndrome. I thought I had no business being there, which I probably didn't. But all I did, man, was just learn. Every time I saw somebody doing something cool, I go, how do you do that? And everybody except one guy told me. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, with this, I'm going to have to go back in here. Now I would get an oily brush. Say this was finished, which is obviously not. I would go back to that. I like this oily. So all these down here are oil brushes here. Here. So you can see their profile here. This one looks kind of cool. I just like to play with them. Let's see what this one does. Let's put a new layer on here. And let's go. I'm going to grab this light. Yeah, that's kind of cool. That doesn't work for this. The one that'll probably work for this is the one I started with, because I really like this one. I like this one as a build-up brush. Yeah, that's kind of, I'm going to go really to a light here, because that's where I would start to build up my my highlights and stuff. See how it's starting to get like a nice little thicker kind of look. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then again, I want to control my edges. So I go, I mean, that looks okay, but I want to just kind of vary up the edges a little. So it feels like I'm going from like a lighter pink to building up to a fat opacity. Okay. Because that's kind of my goal always with this stuff is I kind of like this stuff to look like I like it to feel like an oil painting. Okay. Now I could also come on this layer, I think. Let's go back to this layer. And I should be able to use my sponge tool and go, and it's on desaturate. Ooh, that's way too big. Yeah, that's being stubborn. There. And I could go and kind of brush over this. See, that's knocking down the opacity here and there. So that way I could go and I could brush out some of the opacity, very targeted, and still keep some of that green feel to it. Does that make sense? So your sponge brush up here can either go saturate. Now let's go saturate. Let's go, let's say I want this to be screaming green or blue. Look at that. I want some of that hotter color in here, and I can just dial some of that in. Then I'm going to go back to desaturate and just knock it down a little bit. Oh, I'm still on saturate. Desaturate. Because I like some of that. It keeps going back to saturate for some reason. There. So then I can just go, okay, I'm just going to keep some of that. I don't want all of it. It's too much. But if I kind of knock it, oops, if I kind of knock it back a little bit, it's starting to find the right spot. This is starting to feel a lot more earth-like now. Now let's turn this back on. And this back on, this back. Oops. And we've kind of approached it two ways. And then look at, when you put it in the environment, then I go, I need a little bit of stuff up here. And now I would fine tune it on this layer. Does that make sense? With my background in. So I tend to just throw it together. I've got all these tools that I can keep shifting colors and stuff. Because once I put it into the environment, it's like, is it working in this environment? Now maybe I have to change the background of the environment a little bit. It's a back and forth. And the beauty of this is that, hang on, there's one missing, and I actually probably would take some of this out back here now. And look, see, this is what happens. You go down the rabbit hole with this. I would probably I'd take more of this out back here. I feel like this trail should be, I don't want it should be more like sort of dissipating as it goes away. And this is all just based on my own internal, and these things, by the way, see, that looks a little better, right? That it's tapering away and fading off. These things, I just heard another person say this, and I believe this is true. I was listening to a podcast with Paula Scher yesterday. I should upload it because it's really interesting. And she articulated her creative process better than I ever could. Okay, but her creative process is basically the same as mine, but I've never heard anybody articulate it so well. And this idea of shaping and going back, and that's why if your sketching ability is really good on a job, you can sort of burn through your ideas really quick on the front end and have more time on the back end to shape and polish your idea. Does that make sense? Because what happens usually in a job, just so you know, it's usually not you that's eating up all your design time. It's usually some marketing person or something, and they keep screwing around, and then they're like, it's due Thursday, and they go, and everybody approves something by Wednesday, and they go, well, we're ahead of the deadline. It's like, you're not ahead of the deadline. I've got to do this thing now overnight, which sucks. And now I don't have time to look at it for a day or two and actually see what needs to be done. It's just, it's just how it is. One thing I would do here, I do with everything, is I go to image rotation, flip horizontal, and I go, is it working both ways? Yeah. And if it isn't, it'll show you what's off balance. Okay. Now what I would probably do next on this thing, anyway, what I was going to say about Paula Scher. I had a teacher who told me this, and I always kind of thought of it in the back of my mind, and I might have said this in here before, but he goes, a designer has to know everything, which to me means, because I do think that's true, as you're going through the world, you're cataloging things. As you're looking at images of space, you're going, that's cool, man, and you're looking at it, and you're cataloging it. But when I go to here, this only has to have the internal logic to support my own idea. If this can be a super fantastic environment or whatever, that's actually doesn't make a lot of sense, but it makes sense in my, I don't know where my stars went, by the way. Oh, there's something. There they are. It has to support my own internal logic. You can't look at it and go, well, that guy clearly has never looked at nebula and planets before. But if you look at something like these Marvel movies you guys watch, those are ridiculously fantastic, and you buy it because the internal logic of that world works. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to get people to buy your internal logic, that's all. And that just, like I was thinking about yesterday, I was thinking about this because I always think about what I'm doing the next day. And I was thinking about that Thor movie or Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever. Those are so ridiculously crazy fantastic that I should never buy into it. You know what I mean? But they put that world together so well visually, and however they do it, 5 minutes and I'm in. Okay, I get it. You know what I mean? And they're ridiculously fantastic worlds, which is what's cool about cinema or storytelling or whatever, is that you can do that. Okay. But anyway, you need to always be cataloging these things, so you're not doing what I see people doing, and they make stuff up and it's like, that just looks made up. You know what I mean? And don't be afraid to go look at reference and stuff like that. Okay. And you need to, right? And by the way, to speed up this job, I'm going to go grab a nebula just like I just did, and I'm going to sample the colors off it. Right. And I'm going to and I just look at it and go, oh, it's gassy edges. It's sparkly, bright stuff. And by the way, we could also probably add this. Hang on. In this case, we could probably add this. So let's go filter, render. We have to be on the layer. So let's put it on shit. Let's just, for the hell of it, let's flatten this for now, just for time. I would never do this, but just for time, let's flatten it. And then I'm going to go filter, where'd it go? Render, lens flare. I'm going to go, maybe there's a sun up here or something. Now I could actually have an excuse to warm things up. Let's see what looks good. Okay, that's cool. That's too much for me. That's cool, it's too much. That's kind of cool, but let's try that one. And let's see. And then we'll go okay. That looks kind of cool. Now I could just leave it at that, but I also, again, I'm gonna go Command Z, fill this with black. Go back up to filter, because there it is. Boom. I think it was on screen when we had it. Screen. And now that gives it sort of a nice little lens flare. Now that's a place where lens flare might work okay. Okay. I could also come in here, maybe just here and there selectively. Let's do this. Now I'm going, I've got this color here, right? So now I got this warm thing. So maybe I put another layer. I'm going to do color again. Let's go color. And I'm going to hit that on my color layer. I'm going to hit that with a little bit of that warmth coming from that sun or whatever it is. And that starts to make more sense to me. See how that's starting to pull the environment together a little bit? I needed that. Does that make sense?
Yep. It looks good.
And then another thing I might do, and again, I'm just kind of making this up as I go, but now I'm going to get a soft brush, a really soft brush. So let's go down here to just our regular brushes and go soft round. And let's go smaller. And I'm going to pick maybe this blue here. I don't want to introduce too many new colors. I want to sort of stay with the ones I have as much as I can. Go back to this blue or this soft brown. By the way, put your, like I have this folder right here that says my faves. Start pulling the brushes you really love in there, okay? So you got your go-to brushes. Then you can come through here and play around with these other ones if you want. Let's go, okay. Soft round. Let's go. Oops. Let's see if I can put this on color. I don't know if that'll work. Yeah, it's not showing up enough. So let's go. I probably have to reinforce my, that's too opaque. So I'm going to knock it down. And color, hang on. For some reason. Yeah. Okay. You know, I'm going to put some of these soft blurs around some of these really hot things, but I'll probably have to come in and reinforce the dot again. So I'll probably have to go boom and reinforce the hot spot in there. And that's better. Now I want this to be full blast right there. You know, and I can come in and put these little ding. I might even put like a little star pattern here and there. All that kind of stuff, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Questions?
When you were making the stars, were you just tapping on the Wacom or were you using your mouse too?
You can do either or.
Okay.
You can actually do this pretty easily without a tablet. Because we're working so broad strokes, it doesn't matter. And yeah, I can just come in, here's my mouse. Actually, sometimes it works better with the mouse to do this pinpoint stuff. See that? Because it doesn't shake.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm getting a really nice little pinpoint. So actually, I probably would do some of this with the mouse anyway. There I go, repeating again. And then maybe go a little bigger, boom, boom. You know, and I start off with a spatter brush, and then I sort of go and fine tune, you know. I've got, you know, I used a leaf brush on some of this. As long as they don't look like leaves, they just look like abstract shapes. It works, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And you're
But,
fine with having some like empty space on the bottom left corner?
yeah, it just depends. I'd probably do something like this. I might just go, I don't know why I'm thinking it's blue. I might just go put another layer on here. Because I like to play with the layers because I don't want to commit to anything really. I don't know, let's just see if that works. Oops. Oh. Yeah, let's try this. I might just put a little bit of that gassy idea down here. Then I might go, you know, does anything look cooler? But that's kind of cool. It's probably getting a little too much. That's kind of like that. And, you know, and then I might go back to a brush. I'm not putting another layer on here because it's hard light. And maybe get a little more of that here. Now I want to break up this edge differently. Look, everybody will see, everybody has their go-to tools, but you also want to break these things up so you're not always even repeating your own nonsense all the time, right? So I'm always trying to get out of my own head. I think everybody is. Which is why I like some of these things that generate random things. You know, and I'd have to soften this up and get it how I like it. It's not there yet. Maybe it's got a little more of this stuff in it. Right now it's a little too loud. So I might have to pull this down a little bit. Yeah, more like that. So that's just, I'm just pulling down the opacity over here on my layer because it was screaming a little too much. And I want you to look at the planet in this area, and then this is secondary. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious.
So we're doing big broad strokes stuff here, and I've given you all the tools I've used in this. You can play with this endlessly. It's kind of why I like this sort of thing. And then I've got a few, like, you can see how you can go in and, you know, what do you call it? You know, saturate certain areas, pull certain areas back, and then you can really get that planet-like thing to it, you know? You know, I could take this whole thing, let's see. Oops. There's the planet. I don't have the planet separated here anymore. But, you know, I could go through the color thing and go, well, maybe I'm going to turn it into like a red planet like Mars, you know? Maybe I'm going to give it rings like Saturn. Maybe I'm going to give it some feature that doesn't exist in the real world, whatever, right? This doesn't exist in the real world anyway because there's no planet that's like that I know of, right? They all look kind of like that, but they don't look like that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing this planet idea, the reason I like to start with this as opposed to just a sphere, I think it's more interesting, is that you have to start tapping into that abstract brain to actually make something look more right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And if I can get you guys to start rolling down that path with your drawing and your painting and your thinking and your design thinking, I'm going to hopefully put you ahead of the game a little bit. Because the value of you guys having teachers that have done this for a long time is, and this is why I love the teachers that I had that did this, is they've figured everything out, man, because they've been doing it for so long. So what they can do is for me, they could make me aware of something that I'm probably not going to really understand for 6 months, but they got my brain searching for it faster. Instead of me having to do what happened to me, which is going down the path for 7 years, and you go, oh, this is the best way to approach color in plein air. Oh, this is the best way to approach sort of abstraction in realistic painting. Blah, 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 right? But it took me a long time to get there because I didn't, even though I had great teachers, you know, there were certain things that, you know, I had to find out for myself, I guess. So if I can start to get your brain thinking down the line where you'll hit it 6 months from this class and go, oh, okay, now I kind of get that thing and it works for me or whatever. Or something I'll show you and you go, it's not my thing. Okay. Because I'm not saying that the way I do anything is the end all be all way. I'm showing you a way, but it's also based very much in classical ideas and classical fundamentals, which I think is a good place to pull from. I just don't think it's a good place to get stodgy and atelier about it, because then you're not applying it to the real world and it becomes stodgy. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So we're just pulling from classical painting techniques and drawing techniques. That's what we're doing. We just happen to be doing it in a digital environment, right? That's it. I never look at this like, ooh, digital or whatever. I don't care. I don't care if it's paint. I don't care if it's this, whatever. It's all fun. But this tool obviously is the tool of the day, right? And this is mostly how you're going to work, obviously. But you got to bring all that fundamental knowledge to this. Otherwise, this doesn't mean anything, okay? I can go give anybody a pencil. It doesn't mean they know how to draw, right? This is giving a monkey a gun, by the way, because a lot of people just look at this, like I said, and just do all this tricky stuff, and that's just monkey with a gun stuff. It's like you don't know what you're doing. You just know enough to do a lot of damage, okay? Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
All right, who else has questions? Anybody?
I got a question.
Side note question, Mike.
Yeah.
In the video with Paul of doing the fur,
Yeah.
he quickly says something about a clip mask to keep from getting those brush strokes when he's highlighting the edge. Is that just the pixel layer mask that you use?
He's probably doing the because he's already started his fur, right?
Yeah, he's just putting a highlight on the edge.
Yeah,
so
you could just
make
go
it
lock
bigger.
transparent pixels.
Okay, that's what I thought, but he called it something weird, like a clipping layer or something. So
You could do a clipping layer too, but I would just do lock transparent pixels. If it's on its own layer, I'm just going to do lock. The thing that's really good about lock transparent pixels is it seems to me, oh, by the way, there's one other thing I want to show you on this plan. I forgot. It seems to me like when you make the selection, then I don't know why, like, let's say it's a soft edge planet or something, right? Or fur. If I go and I make the selection, it seems to be a very hard selection. Whereas if I just go lock transparent pixels, it's picking up all the softness and all that stuff. Does that make sense?
yeah, totally.
So something, that's again, right tool for the right job. What I was going to say about this real quick is this planet has a real hard edge. So I might come in here. And get a, actually, I'm going to use my blur tool. So my blur tool is, I think, right there it is. My blur tool right there, okay? And I'm just going to go, normally I would have this on its own layer, but it doesn't really matter. And I've got this at 100. I think that's fine for this. And I would probably go in here. Can you guys see that, how it's softening up that edge?
Mm-hmm.
Because it feels a little hard edge to me. See, it feels a little cut out. I don't want that. And I'm guessing if I went and looked at images of planets, Earth or whatever, from space, it wouldn't look that hard edge. So that looks a little better. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing I want you guys to understand is, and I know none of this stuff's easy. I don't want to act like all this stuff's easy. I'm not saying that. But what I'm trying to do is the same thing teachers I had do is demystify this stuff, where if you're just sitting here doing it, you kind of go, oh, all right, I can do that. I had a teacher who taught illustration, and the guy is just a monster painter, illustrative painter. So we'd have these elaborate model setups and all this stuff, and he nailed that stuff in acrylic like crazy, never screwed it up. And it was mind-blowing. But when I sat down and watched him do a demo of that, which was mind-blowing, it demystified it for me. It made me go, okay, I get what he's doing. He's building on those buildings. He's just blocking them out. It's lit in shadow-sided cubes, and then he's just decorating that cube like a cake, right? It made it make sense to me. Whereas before, if I would have looked at that, I would have thought, I would have thought that demo, if you just showed me that painting of what he did, and this was an acrylic, if you would have showed me that painting of what he did, which was a cityscape, I would have thought that took him a week or two to do. He did it in probably 20 minutes to a half an hour in paint, okay? Which was mind-blowing. And at first it was so mind-blowing that I was like, okay, he's a freak, that's unattainable. Like there's something wrong with this guy or whatever. And then as I kept watching him and stuff, I started going, it's all fundamentals. It's just fundamental simple stuff. And then I asked him about it one time. I go, and I was just kidding around, but I go, when am I going to get that good, Gary? And he goes, I've been doing this for 40 years. I should be good at this by now. And that's what put mileage in my head. Knowledge, or mileage and experience, knowledge and experience, knowledge and repetition, all those things. Okay. Because you can't do this once. You got to do it 1,000 times. You got to be in your schedule. You got to work hard to do it. Okay. But anyway, seeing him break, and I'd sit behind him all the time when he was painting the model too, and I'd see something coming up in that model where I'd go, I don't know how I'd handle that. And I'd wait for him to get it. And when I saw him handle it, I go, oh, it's totally simple. It's just knowing. A lot of it's experience. Okay. And cataloging ideas and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know I'm rambling, but the philosophy of how you approach this actually matters to me. And it's going to be your own philosophy at some point. I get it. I want it to be your own philosophy, but I just want you to be understanding of like what you got to do to get there. Because all of us want to be better all the time. You know what I mean? I don't care how good you are. There's something up there you want to hit. You know what I mean? And what happens with especially now, it's even worse now because you have, again, this monkey with a gun tool stuff. And everybody wants to create something that looks impressive that they can put on social media or whatever. And it's like, it's not impressive. And learn the right way. Don't worry about that stupid crap, because I hear people talking about it all the time. They're trying to get followers, and I go, why don't you learn how to draw? Why don't you get good, then put stuff online? And who cares about online? Okay. You want to use that to build your brand or whatever, that's great. But putting a bunch of crappy work out there just because you want attention or whatever, it's like, don't skip over things. Build a good, solid skill set, and then you're going to be able to do anything you want. Does that make sense? If you can draw and paint your ass off and design your ass off, then you can do anything. Okay. Somebody will hand you a brief and go, this world is like this. And you'll go, okay, I can do that. And you'll just put your brain into that idea. Okay. All right. Any other questions on this?
Got a brush question.
Yeah.
Can the brushes be imported all together, or does it have to be done one at a time?
Okay. One thing I've noticed about grunt brushes, which actually annoys me, but whatever. But because I reloaded mine yesterday for this demo, because I for some reason I disappeared. But let me switch off of this. I've noticed that. Hang on a sec. I've noticed that. Okay, so I can take all the grunt brushes as a group, double click them, it'll come up and say, do you want me to blah, 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 import these as brushes. But then what it does is it puts every brush into its own folder. So what I did is I made a new folder. I called mine oil because I like my stuff clear. Like these are my oil brushes. I have my favorites. I have my favorite smudge brushes. And then I have various, if specific to an illustration or something, I might have some custom brushes I've done or whatever. But I have my solid favorites. So anyway, what I did is I just put a folder up there. I just turned the little drop down thing, and I just started pulling all those into their own folder. Then I discarded all those other folders. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Now, some of them are put together where, and I don't know if any of these are, but some of them are put together where if you double click, like I think the Greg Rikowski brushes, I think those are in one ABR file, and you double click it and it'll just load them all into one folder, and I think it'll say his name and it kind of creates a folder for you. I think his are like that.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know why the grunt brushes aren't. Maybe it has something to do with them being tool presets originally. I don't know. But I just go and organize them. And then start playing with them. This is a lot of this, like what we're doing with this. What I like about this project is that it's very abstract, and I really want to tap into your abstract thinking. And it's also, you can play a lot with this and, try different brushes and try different softening techniques and all these different things. And hopefully you'll stumble on things. I love that when I just stumble on, like I just found a really good brush to use for something I'm using for something else. I'm going, this is going to be my brush probably for a while, that when I go up into the thick paint part, I'm probably going to use this brush. But I'm also going to go in and soften edges and shape things a little bit, because what I don't want it to look like is that, oh, you're using a brush, this brush, like every time you do that, and it's the same shape, and it's not interesting then. Does that make sense? Okay, so you got to control this where you're not, is everybody in here have basic design?
Yeah.
Okay, if you haven't, you need to do that, because then that's where this comes in, where I go, just like I just did, where I go, oh, I'm repeating a shape. That's basic design stuff. Big to small, soft edge, hard edge. Like, and in this environment with space, it doesn't follow the law. It doesn't even follow atmospheric logic, because there is no atmosphere in space, right? But if I took this planet that I made here and I duplicated it and maybe flipped it over and kind of reshaped the land masses or whatever that is on there a little bit, I can make another planet. Maybe I shift the color a little bit. And if I put it way back there, I'm probably still going to pull, like, it's almost like it's got some atmosphere to it, because I want it to feel like it's back there. If you ever see pictures from space, they look super weird because everything looks super clear because there's no atmosphere. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you always hear people complain about like space battles, you know, where things blow up and all that stuff, and they go, it doesn't happen in space. And it's like, well, I know, but you know, that's how we perceive it. Again, it goes back to that internal, do I really need to be accurate if I'm making Star Wars? No, I need to make it look like I'm being accurate to my world. That's it. And we see things blow up. I don't know what happens in space, by the way. If you blow something up, I don't know what happens, but they always say it doesn't do that, you know? So I don't know what it does.
Mm-hmm.
But it's you know, again, internal logic, right? And what I want you guys to do with this, what I'm trying to do with these kind of exercises, because this is an exercise, okay? It's not a project, is to get you guys experimenting, you know, giving you sort of an outline, and then you guys experiment from that point. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think what I would do, it's up to you guys. I think, because I want to have, I actually wanted to have the discussion about the video today. I think I would do this and just look at the video, and then, you know, if you have time to start it, great. But I want to have a discussion around that tomorrow to make sure that you guys are, that it's all making sense. And then I'll probably pull up the one that I did for the demo and probably work a little further on it and start to show you where I would go with it, because I kind of left it at that point. There's a mixer brush discussion in there. Don't worry about that part. What else? Yeah, so watch that video tonight or today, and then what else? Oh, and play with this. I would play with this first, because I think this is a smaller task that we can kind of get past. And I think some of the abstractions and things like that from this and this thinking of edge control and brush control. And is everybody understanding now what I'm saying about hard and soft edges and edge control with your painting? Does everybody understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
More on a little edge control.
Yeah. Okay. So let me pull something up here. So let's go back. I got to share my screen. Let's go. This thing drives me crazy. Hang on. I just want to look at what we got in chat. Let me look at this real quick. Are you guys talking about? Yes, I did send you the feather brush, but I think I renamed it. I think I renamed it like pencil brush or something. If you guys can't find it, I know I did put that up, but if you can't find it, tell me and I'll reload it. I like that brush. You guys might not like it. Who knows? I think it's a really good drawing brush. Okay. You guys talking about, who's talking about basic design? Oh, Elon, you talking about basic design?
Yeah, I still need to take that class, so I was just wondering who I
Does
can.
Todd teach that class? I think he does.
Yeah, he did. Last I checked.
I would take Todd.
Okay, sounds good.
I think he puts together interesting projects. I really want you guys to, it's really important. And I understand when people, especially if you've already done some stuff, but even if you're coming into it new, like I really want you guys to take your path correctly and go like, I wish I could rewrite basic drawing, but I can't. And I think we can do this, but I need to look into this. And anybody who hasn't taken basic drawing, I think we can substitute, but I have to make sure of this. I think we can substitute basic drawing for entertainment arts, which I think is a lot better basic drawing class for that class. Okay.
Okay.
But I have to double check that because I haven't gotten a straight answer.
Yeah, Phil's not teaching that class this semester though, so.
I mean, the thing with basic drawing, and it just, they teach that, I probably said this before, they teach that in everywhere. They just do it everywhere. They teach it in such a stodgy way, and then
like really academia way.
Yeah, which I think I think the principles of it make sense. I think the way it's taught doesn't make sense. It didn't to me.
Yeah.
And I get students out of there all the time where I'm just like, this, man, they got nothing out of that. And they tell me that, you know, and it bothers me because I'm actually thinking about going back and getting my master's just so I can like teach that class, because believe it or not, I can't. But we've also talked about, I think we might be able to change the requirement for that class. I'm pretty sure we can. And if we can, I want to teach that class. I'm going to redesign that whole class. I'm going to make that where you come out of that and you actually do understand drawing. Okay. And still cover the same classic principles. The problem is, and this is just when you go from academia to academia and you don't go out and make your living doing this, you just teach those same exercises you learn. And it's like the way you teach after you go through a 20-year career or something is not the same way you teach if you just came out of academia. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're going to have a much more practical approach to this because you're going to go, you need to know this and you need to know this. And here's a better way of doing this because it took me 5 years to learn this and I can teach this to you in a week, you know, because you're distilling down all this information. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
When I got to college, man, I was stoked because I'd been like wandering around in the dark my whole life. And then I found these guys where I could go, how do you do? And I mean, these guys just blew my mind. And it was like, I get to work with these guys and they're going to show me all this stuff. I was just so hungry for it. You know, I wanted technique because I was like, you can't teach creativity necessarily. I can help you put a process around your creativity or whatever, but nobody can teach you to be creative. Anybody tells you they can is full of it. But I was like, give me the techniques. I already know I'm creative and stuff. Just give me the ability to make the things that I see in my head without a whole lot of nonsense. Like I want you guys to work fluidly. Does that make sense? Not where you're going like it's a structure and it's a this and it's a that and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? I don't like system. I want you to be just free with your technique, and to be free with your technique, you have to get really good at it. Okay. What was I just going to do? I just pulled this up. Oh, paint, brush, here. This is important. You need to look at all these people.
Can you put their names up on the announcements, please?
Absolutely. So let's go.
Thank you, Mike.
And I'll keep putting them up as I think of them. Of course, I got to wait for this stupid thing to load. So let's look at. So let's see if I can do this. Yeah. Now let's go back here. This isn't going to be very big, damn it. Let me see the name of this painting and maybe I can. Okay, so the one I always go to, and I think everybody goes to for brushwork, is John Singer Sargent, okay? Now, look at how finished out that is. Does that make sense? And who was asking that? Mina? It was you, right?
Yeah, I was asking about the hard edges.
Yeah, so look at, and it's hard to see it here because when you first look at this, it looks tight, right? But as you get closer on here, look at that. I mean, this is super abstract. Look at this. Look at this. You see how abstract that is?
Yeah.
Okay, and what he has to do is manage, like this transition right here. If you look at it, it's a fairly hard edge. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, here, see how soft it's all getting in here?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Now, why is that soft there?
I'm guessing that he either used a softening tool or the blur tool.
No, this is all oil.
Okay.
Now,
It's
okay,
to indicate that it's not that like deep of a wrinkle for her dress.
what's going on there is he's showing flesh under a transparent fabric.
Yeah, translucent. Yeah.
So that is going to be soft.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he probably could have just introduced a little bit of that flesh tone in there, right? Then he just took another brush probably and softened that edge, right? A clean brush or whatever, right? And just soften that edge out. It's not that different than what you're doing with a smudge brush, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then in here, look, all he did is leave a hard mark right there, right? Because that's a cast shadow. So it'll be a little harder because it's coming off of a form that's popping out and it's casting a shadow under it. So you just went, and that was it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then here, look, same thing, mark making right there, but the exact right value and the exact right color, okay? Look, and then he softened that edge right there. This edge is a little harder. Why? Because that's something coming out and turning. And he was looking at it and had, you know, these people would sit and model for him. So he had the perfect, you know, all his solutions are right in front of him. But it's not that you're not just copying nature. You're making design decisions. These are all design decisions. They're not just painting decisions. And he's he's editing a lot of stuff out, okay? And he's unifying. Look at these forms. If you look at like this area here, I can count those brush strokes, okay? That's how few of them there are. Same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's like 10 brush strokes in there. And it indicates all these complex ideas, okay? Even here, softens that edge. And then look, this dark unit, as it comes out into the light, it gets a little more red to it, right? Then it comes out and it gets a little more red to it, you know? And then up here it gets a little pinky. Variation. Look at this little detail on the chair. It's not even there. It's not even defined, but it's plenty defined. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then look here. Like, you don't need anything more than that on that chair because that's not the focal point. It just, your brain needs to read it as like, oh, it's a part of the chair, right? Your focal point is right there. So what does he do? He puts most of his emphasis, look at now, that's pretty fleshed out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he uses a soft, again, when this was wet, this forehead and this hair, he kind of softened those into each other. Why do you do that? Because your hair doesn't look like it's pasted on as a hard edge. Your flesh tone starts to mingle with the hair as it goes back, and then your hair takes over. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You do the same thing if you did it in digital. You know, I'm going to take a soft brush and pull some of that flesh tone into the hair and pull some of that back over, and then it'll feel like hair transitioning into the skull, or the scalp transitioning into the hair, right? But then he gets much more refined in his brushwork here, where it's much more refined. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I go here and look at it as an overall thing, where does my eye go? Right there, right to that face,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Then second read here, third read, you know, chair, right? But your eye goes right where he told it to go. Does that make sense? And by the way, you don't have to refine out the face like that much either. You could do that as a very loose idea, right? So if you go look at John Singer Sargent's sketches, oil sketches, or you know who's another one that's interesting to look at? Just because he's a badass. Let me see if I can find this. You guys see how what I'm talking about relates to what we're doing, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want you guys to think I'm just sitting here rattling on about painting. I'm not. I want you to have an understanding of what you're actually going for here, okay? And I still want you to apply classical ideas to painting, classical painting ideas. Doesn't matter if it's digital. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
So let's, this guy's a mind blower, man. But it's a whole different approach to brushwork, so that's why I want you to see it. Okay, so these kind of things, let's get rid of these other things. This is Leindecker. If you don't know Leindecker, you need to. These are his sketches. Okay? Is that okay? These are his oil sketches, which always blows my mind because I'm like, holy crap. These are just his sketches, right? You guys understand that? That's too small. Oh well. But his sketches are nuts. Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, look good.
I mean, his finished work is okay. So what? The other reason I want you to see this is now instead of having this hard, soft, very naturalistic brush style, he has a very carved, graphic shape brush style. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's important because, you know, he's using a whole different brush technique. Man, I keep getting these small ones for some reason. Let's look at this. This is more like, okay, this is a good one. You see that? He was known for these chiseled brush marks right there. Boom, boom. This sort of stuff where he'd break it up with these little really chiseled looking brush marks. Okay, he was just known. Look at the hand. Look at how it's all composed out of these like kind of chiseled brush marks. Does that make sense? And what I'm trying to show you is a variety of brush technique. Okay, so Leindecker kind of owned this technique. Okay, look at the beat. I mean, he does it everywhere. Even the way he carves out the shape with the white. Super amazing stuff. Look at that. Boom. And then these graphic, these are totally abstract graphic shapes, but man, they read like crazy. Okay. You know, great drawing, great graphic design, great brushwork. Does that make sense? Everybody loves this guy. By the way, Rockwell, I read a story that Rockwell, because this guy did the Saturday Evening Post covers before Rockwell. Rockwell worshiped this guy so much that Rockwell would go watch him get off the train when he was a kid or something. Is that, you know what I mean?
That's funny.
And I think Rockwell stopped one Saturday Evening Post cover that he would have beat Leindecker, having done more. I think he stopped one before out of respect for Leindecker. All right, so look at all these people, man. Like, learn stuff from these guys. You know, and look, the other thing is like, you don't want to copy people. You don't want to be somebody else and all that stuff. But looking at this stuff and get inspired by, I see people all the time that are taking some of this vocabulary of Leindecker, and they're not copying Leindecker. They just were inspired by Leindecker and the idea of sort of graphic brush marks and things like that. That's a whole different thing. Somebody creates a language, it doesn't mean that you can't pull from the language. If you're going to copy them, that's not good. But Leindecker kind of created that language. There's probably some precedent before him that he got it from and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mina, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does.
Okay. So just, I want you to start being aware of this. Because every time I talk to students who've been through digital paint, all this stuff, and I go, brushwork, what do you know about brushwork? They don't know anything about it. They're not even aware of it. And it's like, well, that's why these paintings aren't working. You know what I mean? And I don't like sugarcoating stuff. Okay? That's not interesting to me. So you need to be aware of it. You know, and people need to be critiquing your paintings from that point of view, okay? Constructive point of view, you know, and introducing that idea, because then we're going to produce better students, okay? I can tell you right now, everybody responds a lot more to that type of painting in the industry than they do a bunch of very tight, gradient heavy stuff. You know what I mean? When you really, like, you know, that's why Craig Mullins is at the top of the list. That's why that Greg Rutowski guy is a big deal. These are guys they're good painters, man. You know what I mean? Mind-blowing painters, digital painters, right? And traditional painters. Okay, that's me rambling on for too long. Any other questions? Okay, so what we're gonna do now, I want you guys to play around with that planet idea, and I want you guys to look at that video, and if you can get started on it, that's fine. If not, then I'm gonna start going over it tomorrow anyway. So I wanna have a discussion around it tomorrow, which I thought I was gonna have today, but I will. Is that good, you guys? It's actually better that we didn't do the video, because now, having done this, I realize, I mean, we're almost at 1 o'clock. I wouldn't have had time to do both. And I'm actually kind of glad it went this way, because you have the video to look at for the other thing, so that's fine. I think I would start with this, though. I think I would start with this, again, because you can really play around with this from an abstract perspective. Okay?
Okay, got it.
And all that stuff's on there now. The brushes are on there, all that stuff. Get them organized. And also that too, like if you load these things in, you're like, wait a minute, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll go over that if you need me to. What else? I think that's it. Okay? Because I think I covered everything. And play around with the stroke idea, which is under edit, stroke, and then, you know, you just go however with it. And the other thing I want you guys to understand is, like, when I put that stroke on there, what a lot of people will do is they'll bust off the end and the front like I did, but then they don't go and tweak the energy trail coming out of that. You know, like that kind of stuff is what I want you guys to really look at. And that's not a detail thing. That's still a big idea thing. Okay. If you want to call anything, I don't believe in detail, but if you want to call anything on this detail, it's just where you go in and start tapping out like little, you know, the highlights on the stars and maybe put some glow over them and all that stuff. I don't believe in detail. I don't think it exists, but if you want to call it detail, that's detail. Okay. All right, you guys. I'll see you in the morning then.
Thank you,
Mike. We'll start going over that environment.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks for
See
all
you
the
guys
stuff.
in the morning. What else I
Later,
got?
guys.
Thanks.
Oh, Mike, one quick question.
Yeah.
So have you figured out why your class is like listed into 2 different
yes.
sessions?
What that is the stupidest thing that's ever happened. For some stupid reason, and I'm trying to find out who made this decision.
Right.
What they're doing, okay, so the way our classes are listed, everybody needs to hear this, by the way. The way our classes are like listed in curriculum or whatever, which you guys don't even have to worry about, is like it'll go, this class is 3 hours lab time, 2 hours lecture, okay?
Oh, okay.
So what they did for some idiotic reason is in the catalog, they broke it all up by that sort of internal dialogue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it needs to just go Monday, Thursday, 3 o'clock to whatever. That's all. How we break
Yeah,
that
and
up.
it's weird because some of the classes do have that format where it's like Monday to Wednesday, like from 3 to 6. So that's why I questioned it, and
It's a
I had
screw
to
up,
ask
is what
you.
it is. And I have to figure out, we have to figure out who the hell did that. It really irritates me because it's like, okay, everybody's trying to navigate this being locked down stuff. And then every time you go, okay, I feel like I got a handle on it with the teaching part, they throw a wrench in it like that. And you're like, if I was a student, I'd be going, wait a minute. Oh, now because they're online, they're making the class this day and then this day and this hour and that hour because it's online. That would be what my logic would be. You know what I mean?
That's what I was thinking when I first saw that. But I'm like, that doesn't make sense because I know like your classes are never that short. And I was looking at your Saturday class too. I'm like, 9 to 11 and 11:30 to 3. I was like, that's not right.
And by the way, if you taught, if it just in my opinion, if I'm that rigid, if I go, okay, everybody, here's my 2-hour lecture, and then here's our 3-hour lecture, it's not going to be a good class because
No,
we
it's
need
not.
to have this interaction. We need to have a discussion. We need to be working. Well, and in this case, I can't do what I normally do and go around everybody. I'm doing that all at once, obviously, but I want that discussion where I'm doing something and Amina goes, hey, wait a minute, how does that work with the soft edge brush? And then we can go off on a tangent on that and talk about that. If I just stood up here and did a lecture for 2 hours, especially online, I'd put you guys to sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That class, I forgot the day is, what's the date it says? Or days?
I think it was Monday, Wednesday, I believe.
Okay. Let's say it's Monday. I think it is Monday, Wednesday. I think it goes like 6:30 to 9:30 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying that you have to be out of there by 9,
Like
right?
6:30, 9:40.
9:40.
Yeah.
You have to be out of there by 9, correct?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
And here's why. Number one, I got to be a little looser during this thing. But the other thing is, that class has a lot of discussion, all that stuff. And kind of like a little bit like this, but more discussion around ideas. But
Right.
most classes online don't go the length of time that they're listed for. Okay.
Okay.
And the other thing is, we're probably not. I mean, sometimes we'll get into a discussion where it goes that long. But what I can do is I can make sure I hit you first in the discussion.
Okay. Sounds
And
good.
then-
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, I'm out at 9. You don't have to tell me. Just at 9, you're out. That's fine. And then whatever part of the discussion you might have missed, you'll have it on the Zoom video, right?
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
So I don't think it's a problem.
Okay. That sounds good.
So anyway, that's what that is. It's like Monday, Wednesday, 6:30 to 9:40 or whatever. So that's what it actually is. Now, I'm
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought.
I'm going to try and find out. The thing that pisses me off is the damage is kind of done. There's already been a lot of students who've seen this and are like, what? Because I'm not the only one who's getting questions about this, you know?
Okay.
And then anyway, I don't want to get all the internal raging about stuff that pisses me off like that. But I just don't understand why you would even make that. Like, nobody knows what that means, by the way. And even if I was a student and they go, 2 hours lecture time, and then I go, 2 hours of lecture. You know what I mean? Never do 2 hours of lecture. I don't. You know, it's you got to mix your lecture. I break up my lecture with talking with everybody. I do my demo and then sort of talk to everybody, and that's my version of a lecture. I don't want to just stand up there and talk. That doesn't make sense to me. Does that make sense?
Okay. All right.
Okay. So anyway, that's what it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, you guys. I'll see you in the morning.
All right. See you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.